The quantum vacuum is not empty. It's pulsating now, sending a direct call to your consciousness. Do you feel that whisper? It's not the silence of nothingness, but the invisible sound of all possibilities vibrating, waiting for your response. This video didn't appear on your screen by chance. The quantum field itself brought it to you as part of a precise synchronicity, a perfect fit in the timeline of your awakening. You might think you clicked here by random choice, but the truth is you were chosen by the invisible movement of the field. Every detail that led you to this moment is part of a cosmic network of signs. It's as if an awakened version of you, the one who already lives in full alignment with the quantum vacuum, has reached out across time and space, calling you to remember who you truly are. That version already knows what needs to be done, and now it sends you echoes through this encounter. Consciousness is not linear. It doesn't just move from the past to the present, and from the present to the future. It inhabits the eternal now, where all realities already exist. Within the quantum vacuum, you are not limited by a fixed script. You are called to remember that awakening doesn't happen tomorrow, nor did it happen yesterday. It pulsates here, in the now, ready to be felt and answered. This is the call, to awaken to the vastness that you already are. To recognize that you are not just a body limited by space and time, but a living channel of the quantum field. Everything you seek, clarity, purpose, expansion, is already here, waiting only for your yes. In every moment, you are summoned to choose between continuing to sleep on autopilot or responding to the call that echoes from the vacuum. And perhaps you've felt this before, a shiver with no explanation, a thought that comes out of nowhere, a dream that feels more real than your waking life. The book that fell in front of you, the conversation that seemed to be speaking directly to you, the video that arrives as an immediate answer to a silent question. These signs are not coincidences. They are pulsations from the field, reminders that the reality you see is not the only one possible. And now, in front of this video, you are being reminded again. I promise you, this is not just another piece of content to be consumed and forgotten. This is a portal. Here, you will understand how to feel, access, and respond to the call of the quantum vacuum. You will discover that you don't need to create anything from scratch, because a version of you already exists, living in fullness, in tune with the field. The question is, are you willing to cross the bridge? Imagine, inside you, there is a seed that has always been waiting for this moment. Throughout your life, it has sent small signals, in moments of silence, in the deepest restlessness, in the questions that never went away. Now, that seed is germinating. The vacuum pulsates, your consciousness awakens, and the call is clear. It is time to remember who you already are. Don't ignore this call. Every word here is a reminder from the quantum field, inviting you to open your eyes, to breathe deeply and recognize you are not alone. The vacuum is alive. It is speaking to you now. The quantum vacuum is not an absence. It is not silence nor a dead void. On the contrary, it is a living sea of latent potential, where everything already exists in a potential state, waiting only for your attunement. Imagine an invisible ocean, pulsating with infinite waves that have not yet transformed into forms. This ocean is real. It surrounds you now. It is the cosmic matrix, the primordial source from which all realities emerge. Think of the vacuum as an invisible canvas, where every thought, every emotion, and every decision are like brushstrokes of energy that define what form will appear before your eyes. Nothing is neutral. Nothing is wasted. Every vibration you emit finds its response in the field. The vacuum is not distant. It pulsates in every cell of your body, in every fragment of your consciousness. It is the place where all versions of you already are, waiting for your choice of which reality you wish to experience. The vacuum is not random. It is order in its most subtle expression. When a book falls in front of you at the exact moment you needed that message, it is not by chance. When a conversation comes up as a direct answer to a silent dilemma, it is not a coincidence. When this video appeared on your screen, it was not blind luck. It is the quantum field sending signs, aligning circumstances, responding to the waves that your own consciousness emitted. Every synchronicity is like a secret ticket from the invisible, reminding you that the universe is not indifferent to your journey. The field responds because you are already in dialogue with it, even if you don't realize it. Your thoughts are like seeds cast into this invisible soil, and the answers appear as fruits that show up in unexpected but precise ways. The vacuum is fertile. It never fails to respond. And here is the revelation. You not only live within this field, you are the field in conscious expression. The quantum vacuum is not outside you. It pulsates through you. Your breath is part of it. Your heart is moved by it. Your mind is crossed by its invisible currents. By recognizing this, you understand that there is no separation between you and the infinite. The boundary is merely an illusion created by the linear mind. Now reflect. How many times have you ignored a sign because it seemed too small? How many times have you believed something was just a coincidence, when in fact, it was the vacuum speaking to you in its own language? The field doesn't shout, it whispers. It arranges the pieces so delicately that only those who are awake perceive it. And when you learn to listen, every detail of your daily life transforms into a revelation. This living space of possibilities is in constant motion. There is no stagnation in the field. It always flows, always expands, always responds. The question is, are you willing to align your consciousness to perceive it? Are you ready to recognize that nothing that comes to you is by chance? When you begin to accept the language of the field, life stops looking chaotic and begins to be perceived as a sacred dance between you and the vacuum. Thus, what seemed random becomes an orchestra. What seemed like silence becomes a melody. What seemed empty reveals itself as fullness. This is the mystery. The quantum vacuum is nothing, and at the same time, it is everything. It holds, in a potential state, all possible versions of your life. And it is up to you to learn to tune in, to choose consciously, to hear the call that already resonates now. Nothing is by chance. Everything is language. The vacuum is alive, and you are at the center of this cosmic conversation. Quantum awakening does not mean becoming someone new. It is above all an act of remembering. Remembering that a version of you already exists, fully awake, living in tune with the quantum vacuum, radiating clarity, purpose, and presence. This version is not distant nor inaccessible. It already exists, and at this moment, it sends signals through the field to remind you of who you have always been. You don't awaken to transform into something you are not. You awaken to shed the layers of forgetfulness that cover your essence. That essence was never lost. It remains intact, pulsating in the heart of the vacuum, waiting for the moment your consciousness decides to turn inward and recognize, I already am. Awakening is not about the future. It's a remembrance. It is looking beyond the limiting narratives the mind repeats and recognizing the self that has always been beyond time and space. This awakened self influences your life now, sending energetic signals, inspiring decisions, arousing emotions. Every time you feel a strong intuition, every time a synchronicity catches your attention, it is the echo of this awakened self crossing dimensions to reach you. It doesn't speak with words, but with vibrations. It doesn't shout, it just pulsates in tune with the field, waiting for you to learn to listen. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your choices are much more than automatic reactions. They are frequencies emitted into the vacuum, and this field responds with precision. When you think with clarity, feel with love, and act with confidence, the field returns harmony. When you vibrate fear, doubt, or scarcity, the field returns noise, static, confusion. Awakening is realizing that you were never a passive victim, but an active emitter within this quantum dance. That is why awakening is not just a state of inner peace. It is also a responsibility. You begin to understand that every emotion cultivated, every decision made, every word spoken reverberates in the field. You are not isolated in a timeline. You are connected to an ocean of possibilities that responds to your vibrational state. When you understand this, you begin to live more consciously, carefully choosing what you emit. The call of the vacuum is this: stop seeing yourself as incomplete, as someone who still needs to become. Recognize that what you seek already exists within you. Awakening is not a conquest. It's a remembrance. It's not a construction. It's a revelation. It's not the future. It's presence. Everything you need is already pulsating in the field now, waiting for the moment you accept your true identity. And it is at this point in the journey that I invite you to take a conscious step, not just to listen, but to respond, not just to reflect, but to take a stand. The field recognizes when you declare, in voice or in writing, your attunement. Therefore, at this moment, write here in the comments an affirmation that echoes the truth of your being. I am in tune with the quantum vacuum. Writing this phrase is not just a digital gesture. It is a symbolic act of anchoring, a way of communicating to the field that you recognize the call and choose to align with it. Every word you declare carries a vibration, and when spoken or written with intention, it activates layers of your awakening. By affirming this, you don't just interact with this video, you send a clear signal that you are awake, that you choose to live in coherence with the call that resonates now. This declaration is a bridge between the self who forgot and the self who already remembers, a bridge between the linear mind and the eternal consciousness, a bridge between the limited human and the quantum being you have always been. Remember, awakening doesn't happen tomorrow. It has already begun, and every time you respond consciously, you dissolve the distance between what you believe you are and what you already are in essence. The quantum vacuum does not respond to loose desires, nor to mechanically repeated words. It responds to coherence. It responds to a state where thoughts, emotions, and actions vibrate in unison, forming a clear frequency without noise. When you desire something but think the opposite and act in opposition, the field receives confused signals. But when every layer of your being aligns in harmony, the vacuum collapses possibilities and delivers the corresponding reality with precision. Coherence is living as if you already are, and not as if you hope to be. It is feeling gratitude before the manifestation, acting with confidence even without visible guarantees, and internally sustaining the certainty of what is already pulsating in the field. The vacuum doesn't move in the face of fragile desires, but in the face of solid identities. You don't attract what you ask for. You attract what you are. Think about this. Fear emits contraction, and contraction closes doors in the field. Love, on the other hand, emits expansion, and expansion opens portals of possibilities. Confidence sends clear waves, while control sends noise. Every micro-decision, every seemingly simple choice of your day is a code sent to the field. When you choose love instead of fear, confidence instead of anxiety, presence instead of distraction, you recalibrate your frequency, and the vacuum responds. Don't underestimate the power of micro-decisions. The field doesn't only manifest in big moments, but in small choices repeated with consistency. It's in the word you choose not to say, in the gesture of compassion you decide to offer, in the healthy boundary you finally set, in the act of self-care you previously ignored. Each of these actions, when coherent with the state you want to sustain, is a quantum leap in your own reality. Imagine the following. Someone who wants to be respected but doesn't respect themselves. Someone who dreams of abundance but acts out of scarcity. Someone who seeks love but lives in fear of losing it. This incoherence creates conflicts. The field returns confusion because the emitted frequency is not clear. Now imagine someone who decides to raise their voice in a meeting, not to dominate but to stand in their truth. Imagine someone who acts with self-compassion, even when the external world screams demands. Imagine someone who, faced with doubt, chooses to trust rather than be paralyzed. This coherence creates powerful waves. The field responds because the vibration is firm, clear, and aligned. The vacuum doesn't reward effort, but alignment. It doesn't give to the one who tries to control, but to the one who learns to trust. It doesn't respond to the one who acts out of fear, but to the one who sustains love. Therefore, the path of quantum awakening requires courage. The courage to internally sustain what the external world does not yet show. The courage to act as if you already are, even when everything around you insists on saying the opposite. This is the secret. It's not strength, it's clarity. It's not control, it's surrender. It's not doubt, it's trust. And every time you choose coherence, the field rearranges the invisible pieces so that your visible reality adjusts to the frequency you sustain. You don't need to shout to be heard by the vacuum. You just need to vibrate with clarity. And clarity is born when your mind thinks, your heart feels, and your body acts in tune. This is the dance of coherence. And when you dance in harmony, the quantum vacuum dances along with you. There is a version of you that has already gone through the awakening. This awakened self is not distant, lost in an uncertain tomorrow. It already exists in the eternal now, living in full tune with the quantum vacuum. And it is from this place that it reaches out to you, sending signs, reminders, and invitations. What you call intuition are echoes of this future self, who already knows what to choose and now reminds you of this moment. Reflect on this. The awakened self is not waiting for you to reach it. It already lives. It has already chosen. It already vibrates at a frequency that it wants you to recognize. Therefore, when something resonates in your heart without a rational explanation, it is because that self has already seen this moment. It already remembers that you encountered these words. It already knows that this choice is crucial. The question is simple yet challenging. Will you ignore this moment as a coincidence, or will you recognize that it is a direct call coming from the future, asking for your response now? Awakening doesn't happen by chance. It manifests in precise encounters like this one. It calls, but it doesn't force. It offers signs, but it doesn't compel. The decision is always yours. The future is not fixed, but shaped by conscious choices made in the present. Every micro-choice you make is a bridge that brings you closer to, or pushes you further from who you are today and who you already are in the quantum field. When you act in alignment, that bridge becomes solid. When you resist, it dissolves into static, noise, and delays. Not because the future is cruel, but because the field responds to your frequency, not your superficial intentions. Notice, resisting the call creates tension, like a channel full of noise that distorts the message. Accepting the call creates expansion, like an antenna that finally adjusts and captures the signal with clarity. The awakened self is not trying to convince you. It is merely transmitting what it already lives. It is up to you to decide whether to tune in or stay on the old frequency. This is where many get confused. They think that awakening is passive, that they just have to wait for change. But the call from the future is not an invitation to wait. It is a summons to inspired action. You don't get closer to your awakened self just by meditating or wishing. You get closer when you act as it would act, when you think as it thinks, when you feel as it feels. Every aligned gesture, every elevated thought, every courageous decision is a step on that bridge. So ask yourself, how would the awakened self act in this exact moment? Would it shrink back in fear or move forward with confidence? Would it doubt itself or sustain the certainty of the call? Would it wait indefinitely or choose to act now, knowing that every step is part of the transformation? This is the power of this instant. It is not just a lost point in the timeline. It is a portal. The future is already pulsating here, waiting for your conscious response. The quantum vacuum doesn't demand speed, but it demands presence. It asks you to stop treating awakening as something distant and start living it now. Because your awakened self already remembers this moment. It already knew you would hear these words. It already felt your choice even before it was made. The question is, will you answer the call or let this moment dissolve as if it were just another one? Quantum awakening is not a path of accumulation, but of dissolution. For the butterfly to exist, the caterpillar must dissolve inside the cocoon. It doesn't carry the old form with it. It dissolves, surrenders to the process, lets the old fall apart so the new can be born. It is the same with you. The quantum vacuum demands that false identities dissolve, that limiting beliefs break, that old patterns fall away. Not because it wants to punish you, but because the field cannot sustain masks. It only responds to what is true. When you begin to awaken, there is an inevitable feeling of discomfort, as if the solid ground beneath your feet is dissolving. Old habits no longer satisfy. Old certainties no longer serve. People and situations begin to move away. And your linear mind tries to interpret this as loss, as failure, as punishment. But the vacuum doesn't punish. It only rearranges. It undoes what is not in coherence with who you already are, so that the true self can emerge. This process is painful because the mind clings to the known, even if the known is a prison. The dissolution is scary because it is an invitation to walk in the dark, without the guarantee of what is to come. But at the deepest level, that darkness is not empty. It is the womb of the field, where the new version of you is being gestated. The discomfort is not a sign of error, but part of the quantum realignment. Every crisis, every challenge, every moment of apparent collapse is in fact an energetic recalibration. The field is clearing noise, undoing patterns, dissolving structures that cannot sustain the frequency of your awakened self. It's as if the vacuum, in its silent intelligence, is removing the pieces that don't fit into the new design of your life. You can resist and suffer, or you can trust and allow. Metamorphosis is not optional for those who choose to awaken. You cannot remain a caterpillar and at the same time experience flight. There comes a moment when everything you knew needs to fall apart. Relationships that no longer support your expansion begin to break. paths that no longer hold truth close. Repressed emotions come to the surface to be released. All of this doesn't happen to break you, but to free you. And here is the secret. The more you trust the process, the smoother the transition becomes. The more you resist, the denser the dissolution seems. The vacuum doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't destroy on a whim. It dissolves to reveal. It dismantles so you can see who you really are, beyond the illusions that time has built. If today you feel like you're in a tight cocoon, if everything seems unstable and uncertain, understand, it is not the end. It is the natural process of the field. It is the call of the butterfly that already exists within you, asking for passage. The discomfort is proof that the transformation is underway. The silence of the cocoon hides a deep movement, and every fiber of your being is reorganizing to sustain a higher frequency. So, when the old falls away, do not mourn. Recognize that this is the quantum vacuum in action, adjusting your reality to the call of your awakened self. And when the new has not yet shown itself, trust. The cocoon seems dark, but it is there that the light of the future is being woven. Awakening is not gentle, but it is sacred. Dissolution is not punishment, but rebirth. What today seems like a loss is in fact liberation. What today seems like a collapse is, in fact, the reconstruction of a life that resonates with who you truly are. In the quantum field, time does not drag along like a rigid line, going from past to future. In the vacuum, there is no yesterday or tomorrow. There is only the eternal now. This instant you breathe contains all possibilities, all paths, all versions of you. It's as if reality were a vast movie, already finished, but you get to choose which scene to watch at this moment. The awakened self has already watched the full plot. That's why it sends signals for you to align with the best version of your path. Think of the experience of watching a movie for the second time. You already know the end. You already know what will happen in each scene, but the one who watches for the first time believes they are discovering the story in real time. This is what linear consciousness is like. You move as if you don't know, but your expanded consciousness has already seen, already lived, already knows. The eternal now is not a theory. It is the place where all timelines meet, and you are free to choose which one to experience. Your dreams, what you think is up ahead, actually already exist here in a potential state. They are not waiting years to manifest. They are available now, waiting only for your vibrational alignment. Manifesting is not forcing the future to happen. It is allowing what already is in the field to express itself in the present. When you believe you need to wait, you create distance. When you recognize that it is already now, you dissolve the illusion of waiting. The eternal now is the portal of awakening. Every time you anchor yourself in presence, you stop being dragged by the currents of the past or the anxieties of the future. The linear mind wants to plan, control, predict, but the vacuum only responds to the frequency you sustain in this instant. It's not what you promise to do tomorrow, nor what you regret from yesterday. It is what you vibrate now that shapes the field. There is a profound difference between waiting passively and living with active faith. Passive waiting says, when it happens, then I will believe. Active faith declares, I already believe because it already is. In passive waiting, you place yourself as a hostage to linear time. In active faith, you access the eternal now and allow the field to reveal what already exists. This is the secret. You don't have to chase the future because the future is already rushing toward you. Everything that is yours is already pulsating in the field, but it can only cross into your concrete experience when you open the channel now. The eternal now is the meeting point between what you dream and what you live. How many times have you postponed your own transformation because you believed it wasn't the right time? How many times have you waited for a clearer sign, for a perfect condition, for an impossible certainty? The field does not ask you to wait, it asks you to align. There are no external conditions that need to fit. There is only your decision to vibrate as if you already are. In the eternal now, the past does not define you. It becomes just a memory, one line among many that could have been chosen. In the eternal now, the future does not limit you. It becomes just a reflection of what you vibrate in the present. In the eternal now, you are free. Free to choose again, free to change course, free to dissolve old beliefs and assume your quantum identity. Therefore, do not get lost in the illusion that time is your enemy. Do not wait for years to bring what can only be accessed in presence. Do not mourn what has already passed, because it no longer exists. The call of the vacuum is simple. Live now as if you have already awakened. The future is not a distant promise. It is an available frequency, and it is here, in front of you, in this exact moment. Awakening is not just about receiving signs, visions, or intuitions. It requires integration. Receiving the transmission is the first step, but making it flesh, making it action, is what seals the process. Many get stuck in contemplation, accumulating spiritual knowledge, but without transforming that knowledge into real choices. The field doesn't respond to the accumulation of theories. It responds to lived, embodied, and expressed alignment. It is when you act in coherence that the frequency solidifies and the vacuum reorganizes around you. Integration happens when you decide that you will no longer separate the spiritual from the everyday. There is no out there and in here. Everything is the field. Your breath, your words, your relationships, your professional choices. All of this is part of the language that converses with the vacuum. Every gesture is a frequency sent. When you begin to perceive this, life ceases to be fragmented and becomes a continuous flow of attunement. You no longer seek moments of connection because you understand that you are always connected. And here enters inspired action. It is different from forced action. Forced action is born from fear, from hurry, from the anxiety of controlling the outcome. Inspired action, on the other hand, arises from silence, from clarity, from alignment with the awakened self. It doesn't require immoderate effort because it carries within itself the energy of fluidity. It's as if you become an adjusted antenna, precisely capturing the frequency of the vacuum and acting in accordance with it. Every time you take an inspired step, even if small, you open larger channels. It's like tuning a radio station. At first there might be static, but the more you adjust, the clearer the transmission. Likewise, the more you act in coherence, the easier it becomes to perceive the signs and act without hesitation. One of the most powerful states to sustain this attunement is quantum gratitude, but not gratitude for what will one day come. It is gratitude for what already is in the field, even if it has not yet collapsed into your visible experience. When you feel true gratitude, you declare to the vacuum, "I already recognize what exists." This vibration dissolves barriers and accelerates the manifestation process. To be a quantum channel is to live as if you already are. It is not pretending, not forcing, not deceiving yourself. It is recognizing that if the awakened self already exists in the field, then every act of coherence brings you closer to it. It is transforming every decision into a testament to what you already know in your heart. It is acting now as one who already lives in the frequency of abundance, of love, of clarity. This can be expressed in simple gestures. Choosing words of compassion when you would have previously chosen judgment. Deciding to stand up with courage instead of giving in to fear. Embracing inner silence instead of getting lost in distractions. Every choice is an anchor. Every gesture is a bridge. And the field responds to the frequency you sustain, not to the excuses you tell yourself. So, feel the energy of your awakened self now. Breathe deeply and realize that this version is already alive, already vibrating, already moving. Ask, how would this version act today? What decision would it make? How would it react in this exact moment? And then, don't wait. Act. Because every inspired action is an act of integration. It is your way of saying to the vacuum, "I heard the call, and I respond with clarity." Thus, you cease to be just a passive receiver and become an active transmitter. You stop waiting for signs and start being a sign. You stop asking for answers and become the answer. This is the true state of integration. When you stop seeking the field and recognize yourself as a living part of it. You didn't get here by chance. This video was not just another one among many. It was a call, a response, and a portal. The quantum vacuum arranged the invisible pieces of your reality so that your hands, your mind, and your heart would be in this moment in front of these words. Do not ignore this movement. It is greater than your linear mind can comprehend. It is the living language of the field, whispering, "The awakening has already begun." Everything that has been revealed so far was not information. It was a summons. You did not just hear concepts, you received keys. Every phrase that resonated within you was a reminder from the field, recalling who you already are, dissolving what no longer serves, activating the presence of the awakened self within you. You didn't click on this video to be entertained. You clicked because it was time. It was time to remember. It was time to align. It was time to respond. The seeds have already been planted. They are not in a distant tomorrow. They are germinating now. You have already begun to feel. You have already begun to remember. You have already begun to vibrate differently. Awakening is not a future event. It is a present state. You are in it. It pulsates in you. And the more you recognize this, the more your life adjusts, the more the field responds, the more the vacuum expands through your consciousness. The call of the vacuum is clear. Live as one who has already awakened. Do not wait for external conditions. Do not wait for the world to change first. Speak as one who already remembers. Act as one who already vibrates. Decide as one who already is. This is the bridge that dissolves the distance between you and the awakened self. It's not about waiting, it's about being. It's not about searching, it's about remembering. It's not about tomorrow, it's about now. And here, at this point in the journey, the call transforms into a practical response. If this message resonated with you, if every word found an echo in your consciousness, it is time to seal this alignment. Not with passivity, but with a conscious gesture. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, leave your like, and write the phrase again in the comments. I am in tune with the quantum vacuum. This is not just a common interaction. It's not just pressing buttons or writing words. It is a symbolic act of alignment, a ritual of consciousness. By doing this, you declare to the field that you heard the call, that you choose to vibrate in tune, and that you respond with clarity. It's like lighting a visible flame in the invisible, a way of energetically registering your choice. Understand, when you comment, when you subscribe, when you leave, you are not just strengthening this space. You are strengthening yourself. You are declaring, I heard, I accepted, I responded. The field does not distinguish the physical gesture from the vibrational gesture. Both are signals. And the more you act in coherence, the clearer the transmission between you and the vacuum becomes. Therefore, I conclude this summons with a simple and profound truth. Whoever responds to the call of the quantum vacuum never again lives bound by the limitations of the past. Because the past no longer has power, the future is no longer distant, and the now becomes an eternal portal. You are not a spectator of this call. You are a part of it. You are not a seeker. You are a channel. You are not separate from the field. You are the field recognizing itself in consciousness. Now breathe deeply, feel, recognize, and choose to respond. Because your life will no longer be the same after this instant. The quantum vacuum spoke, and you listened.